Compliance is also very important for the facilities manager. There's several inspections and things that you have to do. I'm sure you're all familiar with some of them. Fire inspections. Everybody knows about fire inspections. You have to have your maintenance person or your fire alarm vendor come in once a year, and he has to inspect all the devices. And then he comes to you and he hands you a bill. And he says, well, I inspected all the devices, and here's the bill, and I want you to sign on the bottom of this that I inspected all the devices. And the first thing you say to him is, no, I'm not signing anything. Because until I get the NFPA form that you sign telling me that you inspected all these things, we're not talking about anything, and we're not paying you any money. And they do this time and time again. Oh, no, we don't have to do that. Don't listen to your contractors or your vendors or anything if you're a facilities manager out there that bring these things to you. Go out and find out the things that you absolutely need to do and then go back to them on that. That was one of the first things I had. Every time I go to a new place, it's amazing how often it's the same things that happen. So for your inspections, and these include all your inspections, you can either go to your design professionals, your engineers, that you might be working with. I went to a legal firm that deals with construction claims, and they have environmental people, and they have all that, and I said, I need you, because I don't understand the code, to go through, and I need you to tell me every code that I'm supposed to follow. So I want you to list the inspection type, I want you to list the frequency, because that's all in there, and then I want you to list the actual code numbers that make me do this every day, or make me do this every year. And then I compiled this list of all these items so that I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. Because if you go ask the vendors will say, no, you only have to do this, no, you only have to do that, but they don't really know, and they don't keep up with the code. So either go to your engineer, if you have a legal firm in town that does environmental and construction law or any of that kind, they can put somebody on this and they'll give you a good list for your particular area. And this goes on and on. One of the things I have in New York State that nobody does apparently is review your evacuation plan every year. I asked my architect to come in. I said, spend a day in here or something, go around, check everything, make sure the plans and my fire exiting is all right per what you designed originally. And they said, well, Gary, you only have to do that if you make changes to your building every year. How many of you here don't make any changes to any of your buildings every year? Everybody does. So you really need to, these are some of the things that you need to know about and you should do. And you really, I know what you're saying. Okay, well, Gary, I don't really need to do that all the time. And they're right. You don't need to do a lot of these things all the time. The only time you need to do this thing for the evacuation plan is when you have a fire. If you could do it just before you have the fire, that would be perfect. But after the fire, it doesn't count. So, and these lists go on for mechanical inspections, for your elevators, backflow preventers, stormwater management inspections. In New York State, they say, well, we can train your people so that they can do your own stormwater management inspections, and then you can produce a report and everything. I don't know what the codes are, and even if you train my people. So I went out, hired my civil engineer, and I said, you need to come in and do this and look at all our stuff once a month, because that's what the code is. And so he comes in once a month and produces a nice little report for us, and at the end of the year, I have things that say, all my water runoff and everything, I'm good for the 200-year flood, probably a 250-year flood. I'm good for a flood where people aren't even going to remember I was there, and I'm still good for the flood. And that's really become more and more important now. Environmental things that you don't perform now are criminal offenses. Back 20 years ago, before I started, they were not criminal offenses. You would get fined or something like that. But now they just come and they say, who's your facilities manager? And you stupidly raise your hand, and they just say, okay, come with me. Fuel storage tank inspections. How many of you have fuel oil storage tanks that are below grade? All right, so one of the things you got to do when you get back is figure out some way to get them above grade. If you have below grade leaks, and you call up your insurance company, they'll tell you how much you'll save if you take them out of the ground and you put them above ground in a double wall tank. If you live in, anybody that has them live in Texas or Texas really doesn't count because you got oil coming up out of the ground all the time. So, so that's all right for you guys. But for the rest of us, we really should consider doing that. But again, there's inspections that go with all these things. And it's very important that you know what they are for your particular area. Safety program, everybody knows you have to have a safety program. Your safety program should not only be tailored to the people in your facility, but then a separate safety program for your mechanics or anybody that's working in your facilities department that has got hands-on work. Their stuff is a little bit more important. And then certainly training program, if you have any of these safety programs, part of that is going to be to have training that goes along with that. It's very important that the training too be linked to your specific pieces of equipment, the different things that you do, and that you show that you're having the training program.